Greetings, I am Herbert Erpaderp, and today is Wednesday, and as I'm sure you're aware, that means today is the day for Ask a Herbert Erpaderp, the video series in which a Herbert Erpaderp is asked questions and then provides answers to those questions. Before I start this week, I just wanted to share the fact that the PDF version of Warlord's Tank War supplement for Bolt Action is free this month. The month of September, that is. If you're watching it in the future, it's probably not free anymore. I already had a physical version, but I downloaded a copy for myself anyway. Personally, I think their PDF versions are way overpriced, and I would rather pay for an ebook version, but I think those are overpriced as well. But hey, this one's free, and some of you might have not known about it and might find it useful. I'll include a link in the description, so go ahead and download a copy if it's something that you want. Otherwise, don't, I guess. There is a bunch of other free PDFs in their store too that you might find interesting or helpful, so have a look around. In other news, as most of you are probably aware, I've started streaming on a somewhat regular basis. I've seen a few of you pop into the chat, which has been really nice. I think I've settled on Sundays at around 2 PM local time for a regular consistent day to stream on, and as I go I might pick a few more days to specifically schedule streaming time into. I'll probably do some around midnight local time too at some point. I will give as much notice as I can. For the last 2 streams I posted a video to my channel in addition to the posts on social media and Discord. I wanted to ask, how much notice do you guys want or like to be given before a stream? I feel like 15 to 30 minutes is appropriate. I don't want people to be rescheduling their day after hearing that I'll be streaming in 5 hours or something crazy like that. Also, I'd like any suggestions for games to stream other than World of Tanks or War Thunder. I did play some PUBG with Barnaby the other day, which seemed to have fewer viewers, but it was a lot of fun for me. More suggestions would be nice. No guarantee I'll play them, but it's good to have options. And now onto the questions, starting with those posted on Discord, as is tradition. General Spade said, if you could put a Herbert Erpaderp on a KV2, would you? Of course I would. Especially if it was a functional KV2 that I could ride around on. That would be glorious. Duncan Hoover said, what is your opinion on the Rank 6 addition to War Thunder? This was the first I'd heard about it, and my immediate reaction is indifference. It probably matters more to people who are actively grinding their tanks and planes. I don't really follow War Thunder news or anything like that, mostly because any changes are usually accompanied by people that take the game way too seriously, whining and getting angry, which is boring and makes me lose interest pretty quick. Whether or not the changes to the rank system are good or not, I don't know, and I didn't really notice anything different when I was playing earlier. Becky from the block said, did you know that Lil Pump dropped out of Harvard to pursue a rap career? Do you believe that he would have created the most modern version of the KV2 turret if he had stayed? I don't know. I'm not a rapsman, so I've never heard of this guy. Were his studies in the field of KV2 turretology? If so, maybe. Who knows? He might still create a modern KV2 turret in his spare time. Surely he isn't rapping all the time. Ducking Tanker said, if you could be any tank in a Cars movie like universe, what would you be? My first reaction is KV2 because why not? So let's go with that. Celia said, you reminded me of Costa Georgiadis from Gardening Australia. Are you his twin brother? Having never seen Gardening Australia, I'm going to say yes. We're probably twin brothers. I just googled him and he is quite the beardy fellow. Definitely brothers. That's how it works. Becky from the block said, how much Herbert could a Herbert Erpaderp if a Herbert Erpaderp could Erpaderp Herbert? 42. Andrew SW said, why did the Herbert Erpaderp cross the road? I dream of a better tomorrow, where Herbert Erpaderps can cross roads and not have their motives questioned. On last week's Ask a Herbert Erpaderp, Ducking Tanker said, the objectively best tank is the KV2. Andrew's Scale Workshop adds, da comrade, Stalin says so and thus KV2 surely best tank. Or I think that is da and Stalin. I was going to disagree because KV2 is big and slow and doesn't function properly on sloped terrain, but Stalin says KV2 best tank and I don't want to go to Gulag. Colonel Hartford said, is there a Mrs. Erpaderp? If not, who's better? Karen Gillan or Zoe Saldana? I think that's how you say it? There isn't a Mrs. Erpaderp, and I don't have any plans to get married. At least I don't think I do. I would probably know if I did, I assume. As for who's better, I have no idea. I don't know either of them. It feels a little bit creepy when I think of trying to decide who's better without some kind of thing that they're better at. That said, I think Karen Gillan is more attractive, and I like Doctor Who more than the Star Trek that Zoe was in, and I'm not really sure what else she's been in. Top Bunk Productions said, have you heard of or used DeviantArt? Either way, I'd like you to check out this new account I've made focusing on the stuff I make, and there's a link. I managed to post the KV2 of the first and so far only Derptopian Legion's KV2 on there before my iPad decided to totally malfunction. I plan to post minis and the art of the Rothelman there as soon as I can. I don't use DeviantArt, but I have heard of it before. I quite like your Derptopian Legion KV2, especially the splotches of pink. It's a mighty colour on a mighty vehicle. I'll put a link in the description if anybody else wants to check it out. Mias Briada said, my question for next week is, prepare. What does life mean to you? 42, of course. If you want a serious answer, I'm not really sure I have one, and I have thought about it. I'm not sure life in general has a meaning. I'm not sure it really needs one. Ultimately, life is kind of meaningless. In the scale of the universe, we'll no longer exist pretty soon, probably. We're all going to die, and eventually nobody and nothing will remember us, which is a pretty bleak way to look at things. I guess while we're here, we should try to make the best of things and not let our eventual non-existence worry us, nor use it as an excuse to snuff ourselves out sooner. It's not really a meaning, but I try to make life as interesting and positive for myself as I can, and to minimize time wastage with negative and unhelpful people and situations. I guess it's kind of a heavy subject, really. I'm afraid I don't have a good answer. Is it even possible to have a good answer? Carlo Vittorio Boni said, what type of gloss varnish do you use on your models? Does it protect the acrylic paint from enamel washes? Most recently I've been using Minotaur's gloss varnish, which I think is rather good. I've also used Vallejo gloss, which is good too. I ran out of that and decided to try the Minotaur because why not? Both of those gloss varnishes seem to protect the acrylics from enamels pretty well, though I have been wondering how strong it really is. I mean, if you were to attack it heavily with the brush using the enamels, would it hold up? I don't know if it would. I do hope it would though. I think I might test that out and make a quick tips video about it. With regular gentle use, the gloss varnish does seem to protect the acrylic layers beneath it very well. Ryan too said, just a few days ago I realised I lost a wheel for a 251 half-track during assembly, and the first thing I thought of was the Oyomaru you used in the Churchill assembly video. If KV2 is King of Derp, then who is the Queen of Derp? Excellent, I'm glad it was helpful. It's really useful to be able to make quick and easy molds of bits without having to go to the effort of making silicon molds just for one little part. I'm not sure most tanks were assigned genders like the early British tanks, so maybe KV2 can be both King and Queen of Derp. Either that, or maybe it's one of the tank destroyers with the huge guns, like the ISU-152 or something. And as a channel comment, Owen Ziegler said, hey, I'm looking to get into wargaming and I'm wondering what would be better for a beginner, Flames of War or Bolt Action, both in terms of my wallet and the level of difficulty to learn the games. Good question. I would think Bolt Action is ever so slightly better. I think it's a slightly less complicated game to learn and play, though to be fair, I haven't really seen the new version of Flames of War and I haven't really played a lot of that game. My preference at the moment is definitely for Bolt Action, so maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I do think it's a slightly more new player friendly game. Really though, I don't think either game is super hard to pick up, so maybe if you have a preference for model sizes and how infantry are modelled and played, you should take those into consideration. In Bolt Action, each infantry figure has his own model. In Flames of War, you get a few figures on a base. In terms of cost, I think it's probably pretty close, though I think Bolt Action is slightly cheaper, but I guess that really depends on what you want. The Flames of War German Grenadier Company is $40 US, while for Bolt Action, a 30-figure box of plastic German Grenadiers are $34 US. A box of Flames of War tanks will be around $40 or $45, where a Bolt Action tank is likely to be somewhere between maybe $20 and $37 US, as a rough example. With Flames of War, you normally take multiple tanks, and Bolt Action is generally one tank, though neither game actually requires you to bring a tank. There's a bunch of variables. Resin and metal models from either company have different costs, and you can buy from other manufacturers like Rubicon or the Plastic Soldier Company, which might cost more or less. In general though, Bolt Action seems a little bit cheaper. Hopefully all of that rambling is helpful in some way. And that's all the time I have for this week. If you have any questions, be sure to ask them in the usual places. And of course, don't forget to do things like subscribing here on YouTube, following me on social media, and watching me stream on Twitch. And if you really like what I do, you can always help support the channel over at patreon.com/HerbertErpaderp. That would be excellent. Check the links in the description for further information. I shall return soon, so until then, happy whatever it is you're doing, and thanks for watching. Farewell.